Well, welcome back. It's an exciting time. Anytime you transition back on the field as a football program, it's kind of what we all live and work for. An opportunity for the 23 team to be out on the football field for the first time. Um, a chance to find out what the gains we've made over the last 10 weeks plus look like. Obviously, some new additions to the roster. See what that looks like as this team continues to take shape. Last time that we met relative to a football game was in Brookings. That day we had 13 seniors that departed the program, and obviously spoke that evening about what they meant to this program, and that's going to happen every year. You're going to have seniors that senior classes that turn over, and obviously that was a special one. Since then, we've had some other departures. The ones I want to note. Devin Slaughter, Tyson Regenball, Alex Johnson, Jake DiAgostino, Bryce Layton are all guys that chose to end their football careers, continue on their education here at MSU. Devin, Tyson, Alex all graduating this semester. Bryce will graduate in the fall. And one thing I want to note is, with the COVID year in all these guys' track record, it is probably just something that will continue to be part of it until that COVID year is out. Guys set out to play football and to also go to school. And when those things don't always time out, you get some guys that choose to graduate and then leave a program before their eligibility has been exhausted. I do want to note Alex Johnson and Bryce Layton were two of 40 students on our campus recognized with the Founders Day Award for student excellence. So that's 40 students amongst our whole student body. So, both really good students. Alex is going to be a teacher, Bryce computer science, and we certainly wish them well. The contributions of Devin and Tyson Regenball and Jake DiAgostino, although they didn't make the headlines necessarily, were significant, and we thank them all for what they've brought to this program. The additions that we're excited about, Junior Alexander, Ty McCullough, Cole Bullock, Blake Stillwell, Chance Wilson are all scholarship guys that joined us mid-year. A couple junior college, a couple four-year transfers, and Chance being a high school early grad. We also had 5 spring semester walk-ons, Zach Cruz, Nick Corum, Miles Sanstead, Rylan Swarthout, and Garrett Walke. They're all beginning with us on the spring roster, with a chance to see where that goes out of the spring season, essentially. And obviously, I want to acknowledge and address Zach's situation. Zach was a young man who had been offered by MSU when I got the job back in February 21, and we continued to recruit him. Got to know him and his family through the recruiting period, which really extended through that summer. Ultimately, Zach chose another school. He ultimately, had made a horrible mistake. That opportunity went by the wayside. On his own accord, Zach chose to enroll at MSU last fall, and approached us about an opportunity to walk on. Went through what that would look like relative to the spring semester, and he's followed through on all our established protocols, and is on the team currently, on the spring roster currently, with an opportunity to earn a roster spot beyond that. So that's our new additions. Talk about our injuries a little bit. Guys that had injuries during the fall that won't be with us this spring. Sebastian Valdez, Jacob Kettles, and Trayton Pickering all had shoulder surgeries, which they're all recovering quite well, but surgeries that were necessary out of the season. David Alston, Nolan Askelson had the knees, of which they're recovering quite nicely. There's a chance that David will be back at some point this spring, potentially. Blake Hale, had a back injury that was slowing him up. And then our remaining guys, Lane Sumner, Sean Chambers, and Kagan Williams are all kind of in a wait and see mode, I guess, but chances are that they won't be involved in too much spring ball. So, situation where most of those guys have established themselves significantly here in this program, and getting them on the heel or healing up on the mend, I should say, and allowing for other guys to get those opportunities is part of the natural progression of spring ball. So we'll look forward to those guys continuing to heal up and get those guys back for the summer. That was the big aim for all those guys as they continue to heal up. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions. As we look at our team this year, obviously excited. We return, I think 35 out of our two deep, and we could go through the whole gamut of positions if you like, but I'll open up for questions first.
You mentioned it right there, but last year was so much about building that experience with this team. You got a lot of experience coming back, I guess. How do you feel going into this spring ball with so much experience coming back?
Well, I think we feel, we're year 2 now, and most of these guys, a good chunk of them have been part of that 2-year process of the changes that we made, going back 2 years ago. So you're talking schemes, techniques, ways of coaching, I guess, and they've been part of 2 very successful teams. And all that being said, I think they desire more. So you look at both sides of the ball. We return a lot of key players, and that starts up front on both sides. Really return everybody that played significant time on our offense and defensive line, and that's very rare to do that. And for us to win football games, we have to win up front, and a lot of experience there, a lot of youth that now has transitioned into guys that are on the back half of their eligibility. And I think a lot of guys that still have the capacity to improve. So that battle between the O and the D line as we go through this spring is what it's all about. Those guys on a daily basis getting each other better. We need to make gains there. I think we left that field in Brookings feeling like we lost the line of scrimmage on both sides, and we need to put ourselves in position up front to win ball games. I think in the skill department on offense, anytime you return not one but 2 quarterbacks that garnered all conference mention, that's significant. And I think all that being said, a guy like Tommy, he's now on that back half of his eligibility, but still I think has the capacity to keep getting better and better. Receiver-wise, I think we've continued to fortify that group, but we do return, some key members there, and I think Clevan Thomas in particular is a guy that showed towards the tail end of the year what I think we really thought he was capable of, and we're excited to get him back for another year and see where his production can go. I know our tight end position, both those guys, Derek and Trayton, are exceptional players. And flipping over the defensive side, where we do have some losses, in the secondary, certainly losing Callahan and Riley, I think we got guys that are willing to step up and take those places. And the good thing is those places won't be, those jobs won't be handed out either. So I think the competition is going to be key this spring, and that's why you're so excited about it as a coach.
Obviously, you mentioned the Lions as well. You got a new O-line coach, obviously, this new season. How do you feel like he's meshing?
Yeah, really well. Al Johnson brings a unique experience here. Playing at Wisconsin is one thing. I think if there's a school known for offensive line play over the past 25 years, Wisconsin would be at the top of the list. And having played there and then gone on to a successful NFL career. But then, what I really found interesting was his coaching progression. Figuring out first that he wanted to coaching at the high school level, and then coaching at the D3 level, and then finding his way back to Wisconsin as a graduate assistant. Those aren't easy steps for a former NFL player to make. He had to be real serious about coaching, and then taking on that head job at Division II. He brings a wealth of experience that I don't know that we could have found anywhere else. And so far we're 2.5 months into his hire, and he's blended in well with the staff, and I think he's done a really good job with our guys, getting to know them, and it'll be fun to see him out in the field here in these coming weeks.
Is Casey Cott's going to be focusing on punting, or is he going to kind of switch?
That's a good question. When Bryce told us of his decision to be done, the first thing I did is say, Casey, this doesn't change your approach. You need to let's start with place kicking first and foremost. That's a job that he needs to win still. Just because he's been here, it's not going to be handed to him. I think with our situation right now, we will be open to recruiting a specialist of some sort. I think we need to be. And at the same time in spring, we don't need to punt the ball a whole lot. We need to work on our punt scheme and the fundamentals that go within that, but we don't have to be out there punting the ball a whole lot. So pumping the brakes a little bit on that position, and really want Casey to focus on what he can do to become the best place kicker first and foremost that he can be.
What did the 10 weeks look like leading up to spring ball starting tomorrow? What was kind of the emphasis on that?
Well, it's getting bigger and stronger. That's the biggest thing. The guys, if they're doing anything, they're living in the weight room for the most part. We're able to get them on the turf a little bit, but not as much as we would like. At the same time, we're able to get them in the field house a little bit, but there's only so much we can do in there. So it's about getting bigger and stronger, putting on muscle, putting on mass. And I thought our guys did a tremendous job. Coach Herron and his staff continue to push all the right buttons as far as getting our guys ready to go for whatever the next stage is. In this stage, it's spring ball. Because I do think we still have this group that had the capacity to keep getting better collectively. We don't have a lot of chiseled 5th and 6th year guys necessarily. We're getting more fifth year guys that are amongst that O-line, D-line group, but they're still a relatively young group eligibility wise. So, getting after it there. Certainly developing a new leadership foundation within our team. Coach Herron and myself, working with that group in particular to not only identify who our leaders are, but then trying to do things to bring them along. I've felt good about the progress we've made.
And before today, I guess the most recent update we got on Kagan was that his neck injury kind of put him out indefinitely and didn't even know if he'd be able to get back to football. I guess how's his progress?
Yeah, unfortunately, we're still we're in that wait-and-see mode. I hate to say that it hasn't gotten to the point where it's been stamped. I guess we'd hoped it would be, and that's I think that's been frustrating for him. And wherever it leads us, it's still in his best interest what he needs to do moving forward. And he certainly wants to play again, but if playing again is not in the cards, it's not in the cards. So, I hope that through the next 5 weeks we can update the situation, because I do think we need to leave spring with the situation updated. I think being this wait and see mode beyond spring doesn't bode well for him or our football program. So yeah, that's kind of the best update I can give.
What kind of consultation or how much were the players consulted about bringing Zach on for the team?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because without their, I guess, collective understanding, acceptance, it wouldn't work. So our leadership group in particular was a starting point for that. And I think for them to just be willing to work with the situation. It wasn't me telling them, hey, this is the way it's going to be. This is the situation. He's got an opportunity to earn his way on this team. And a lot of earning that is how he interacts with our team on a daily basis, how he goes in the weight room in this period and works. And it's been a positive experience so far. Certainly the support of our administration, President Cruzado, Leon Costello. I think that's a big part of it too. their open-minded nature in general, I think, and it's been a big part of us moving forward with this. And ultimately, it came down to my decision, and it's a situation that Zach is working through as this semester unfolds.
So it was your decision that you didn't have to get approval from Cruzado and.
Well, I think it's to have discussions with them was part of it. I didn't go rogue by any means, but to have discussions with them, and ultimately, I think we had good back and forth, and kind of laid out the plan for this semester, and they were on board with it.
And you mentioned it's a positive experience, and how his teammates been, interacting with him, and how would you say, how remorseful has he been so far for his mistakes?
Well, I think what he's done is just put his head down and gone to work, and been who he is. I think he's a young person that made a horrible mistake, and he acknowledges it. He is very regretful about it, and I think in conversations with our players, I think that's more than clear. So it's just been about going about this last stretch since the middle of January. Just go in there, be yourself, work hard, and I think continue to gain education. I do think our guys can learn from a mistake like that. You don't have to be the one that makes a mistake to learn from a mistake. And in this world of where social media is an instant way of saying something that you maybe don't even know what you're saying, I guess, and that's a generalization. Period. I think our guys, can learn from that, and then also just learning that we all make mistakes. I think that's I think as 18, 19, 20, 21, and we have some 23-year-olds all the way up, on our roster right now. I think they all recognize that they've made mistakes. The light has maybe shined on those mistakes quite like it did in Zach's situation, and you hopefully you move on and you become a better person on the other side of it. I think that's the message we've continued to pound home, and that's when I say our guys can learn from it. It's I think that's can be a pretty powerful deal of really figuring out what a person is beyond one really horrible thing.
Defensive end is where he's going to be
Yep.
playing for now.
Yep.
What are your kind of three biggest things you guys really want to harp on, I guess, this spring ball, or just.
Yeah, I think the first thing, we need to continue to develop depth, and to do that, everyone's a part of that. That's not just your young guys continuing to develop. It's your older guys, your experienced guys continuing to become the best versions of themselves, so that on any given Saturday, we're able to play the number of guys we want to play. I felt like last year in a couple spots we were a little short of that, and that you play 14 games. I think that showed up a little bit at the end of it. So developing depth and everybody taking responsibility for that, players, coaches alike. We certainly want to continue to hone in on our schemes, and being it's our third year, there's not a lot of certainly no wholesale changes by any means, but there's tweaks. I think figuring out how our personnel fits our schemes is one thing, but really figuring out how our schemes will fit our personnel is the bigger deal. So schematically, honing in on that and how that'll look different from last fall, that's an answer that I don't have right now. We'll answer that kind of on a daily basis as we practice in the spring, kind of set our course a little bit differently out of the fall. And then you always, it's a time to experiment a little bit, and that's maybe looking outside the box just a little bit, not only with schemes, but with how you utilize some of your personnel as well, but the biggest thing is just allowing our guys that opportunity to continue to develop. And we have numbers this spring that should allow us to practice the way we want to, as long as we possibly can. And, I think providing a real competitive environment is the key to guys getting better.
I guess maybe other than some of those injuries that you guys suffered at running back, what were some of those positions that you wish you had more people in that rotation that you could have added?
Well, I think D-line would be, interior D-line was the one in particular that I would look to. We really leaned on Sebastian and Blake Schmidt quite a bit, and if you look at it one game at a time, it probably wasn't that big a deal, but then you put a season together and, if by percentage they were playing 10, 15% more reps a game, that accumulates over the course of a season. And, we need to keep coming there. I think in the secondary, that would be the other position where, I think we need to have more guys ready to go. And it wasn't so much that we wore down there. I just think, I think competition and, being able to put someone else in there at times is the greatest motivator there is. And I think it's our hope we leave spring with that looking a little bit different on the back end.
I think we haven't talked to you since Blake transferred, and obviously since Bryce made his decision. I guess, can you just give some thoughts on their contributions and their careers, I guess, in the project?
Yeah, when I got here, they had just one semester under their belt. I think a lot of relative question marks, but for two guys to come in as then second-year freshmen and take those jobs and run with them over the course of the last 2 years and really be very steady. I think what Blake was able to do continue to get better and better, and then in particular his steps forward in the kickoff game this fall, that was a real weapon for us. And obviously I think he broke the single season scoring record, so he didn't do so bad on the place kicking side either. And I thought Bryce, if you're in a program that punts a lot, his numbers maybe would have looked a little bit different. But fortunately, we didn't punt a lot this year. But he took a step forward. And maybe it's easier for a punter to be out there 4 or 5 times a game, and it's just going to happen regularly. That wasn't the case for Bryce. So when he was asked to do his job, he did. And he, the thing that I immediately get more concerned about is anything. He was a really good holder too. So that we've lost 2/3 of that operation that was really successful for us. So, wish Blake the best moving forward, and obviously Bryce, understand his situation. He's gonna be a guy that does really well in the career of computer science, and thank them both for their contributions.
I know there were some questions about Mac coming back. Are there any other thoughts that you didn't say in December about that?
No, all the penalties, I guess, which went beyond the suspension at the time, he's fulfilled, and I think part of that is on the counseling side, quite frankly, and he's gone through steps and continues to like I think I said from the start, it's my hope that he learns from this, overcomes this, and becomes a better man because of this. And we're a bunch of months removed from that incident, and to this point, he's done the things that we as a athletic department and a university asked him to do.
And along those same lines, I guess him coming back, you only lose one coach or have to replace one. Not a ton of guys have left so far. I know that can change. You mentioned at kind of the top of this how important is that to go into a season with a lot of not a lot of.
Well, I think continuity is important, especially if it's continuity that is working together and appreciating one another. And I mean that both from a staff perspective, but then also players to a staff. I think not having any disruptions on the defensive side to this point, I will allow that group to grow. I think anytime we had a bunch of turnover there last year, and it takes a while for that new staff to figure out the players and to figure out how to fit the scheme to the players. I mean, and that's really what this is about. It's not saying this is exactly what we're going to do and our players need to fit to it. We need to fit our players or fit the scheme to our players. And I felt we did that as we went along, but that did take a little bit of time last year. And with everybody staff-wise returning, young guys like Nick John Baptiste and Ryan Shepard being able to grow in our program, looking for their experience to continue to blossom, in the D-line and the secondary roles that they have. I think that's all very exciting. The fact now that Bobby and Sean Howe have worked together for a couple years, and those guys being kind of the right-hand guys for Willie Mack, and I just think we have a chance to really grow there. Then on offense, we lost that was a tough loss in losing Brian, and I think the way we were able to replace him with a guy like with Al, I think. Not that it's exactly seamless. And it shouldn't be. Al's going to bring new ideas to the table, a new way of looking at things. But he's got a great amount of experience. In Taylor now coordinating for the third year. Tyler Walker coming back for a second year. Justin and Jimmy is their third year. We got a great deal of continuity on our staff, and I do think that doesn't guarantee you anything, but I think it's a helpful component.
Yeah, losing Brent after the 1 year contributed, I'm guessing, to trying to keep as many guys as possible. Does that help, I guess?
Well, I think what do we do to try to keep them? I think you try to run the program the best you can and really have the guys gravitate towards MSU, Bozeman, and our players, and make it a situation where if they are getting entertained by other schools, they think twice about it, and the level of success that we've had, those opportunities, those interests are going to come our way. But I do think we have a group of guys that enjoys working together, enjoys the players they work with, and you can't exactly put a price tag on those two factors. Now, in this business, there's more money to be made the higher you go up, and that's just the facts of life. So, happy that we're able to continue to, I guess, raise the level of overall appreciation for being part of this program with our staff.
One guy you guys are really high on before his injury last year, Devin Davis. I know you mentioned the secondary earlier.
Yeah.
How excited are you for him to kind of get that?
No, real excited. And Devin left spring as a starter. Wouldn't have meant he would have been a starter, but he would have certainly played. And he brings a different size component to that corner position than any of our other guys. And just excited about his continued mindset of attacking it. He got hurt, and he said, "You know what, Coach? Bump in the road. I still haven't played. I'm going to keep working." And he works as hard as anybody at his craft, and so it'll be a big spring for him. Miles Jackson was a back and forth between corner to nickel to corner. Didn't get a lot of game reps, but he got plenty of special teams reps, and he's a guy that I think needs to continue to press for time. Simeon, even though he's played a whole bunch, he's still a young guy. He's our youngest junior. We have all kinds of juniors in this program. He's the youngest of them. He needs to continue to get better, and I think getting those guys in the right places in the secondary. We moved Drew Apollodor to safety, moved Miles back to corner. I think that's a better landing place for both of them. Caden Dollar's going to figure in somewhere, some way. Tyson Pottinger, obviously Rylan Ord had the end of the season that he had. We bring in Blake Stillwell. I think we got a couple freshmen coming in ultimately that'll be able to compete. So that's it's good to be in a position where we have some open spots, but we have some guys competing for those open spots that we really like.
Yeah, and then I guess on the flip side of that, now you mentioned receiver earlier, but guys like Taco, Cleveland got a lot of experience last year. Obviously, losing Willie and Robbie, I guess, how you feeling about that group?
Well, I think the biggest shoes to fill are Willie. Willie took that step from a junior to senior that you really wanted to see. Was our biggest playmaker consistently through the season. Robbie filled a void for 1 year that we needed, and that's, we want to get out of this cycle of these short-term fixes. That's why it was great to get Cleveland back for a second year, and we have some developing guys. I know in Ty in junior. They have years, 2 in Ty's case, 3 in junior's years ahead of them, where, I think they can come in and help us from the get-go, but they're going to be here for a while. Aiden Garrigan, Christian and I are names that come to mind that were on the outside looking in for playing time last year, but we need them to keep coming. So I think it's, again, I'd maybe say on the defensive side, on the skill-wise, we have a good situation where I think we have some real good candidates. Now they got to go out and prove it, and we do have some proven commodities within that too. And where Taco and Marquis fit, at the receiver position, and just finding ways to get them the ball more. I think that's part of that experimentation I speak of this spring.
Anything fun yesterday for your birthday?
Went skiing, had a great day skiing at Big Sky, and we went out to Lone Mountain Ranch and did the sleigh ride and nice meal. So it was a good birthday. Yep.
Now you get to talk with us.
Yes. So excited for everything to get going. We'll talk on Saturdays. So we'll be a little less formal there, but look forward to those Saturdays to give you guys some updates as we go through.